Hello Crow Coven and welcome back to our channel. This is Nyx from Crowmate's Apothecary, and in today's video we're going to be looking into whether or not they're going to break their silence. So this is going to be a no contact reading where this is a situation where you guys either used to be friends or perhaps in a romantic relationship and you guys have gone your separate ways. And now there's that stagnation point where neither one of the parties are choosing to reach out to the other person. And I'm going to see if we can tap into the person that you're thinking about and also whether or not they're going to break the silence and actually reach out to you for communication, or even if they would be open for communicating with you if you are the party who wants to open up the dialogue. But before we get into the reading, and if you're new, remember to like the video and hit the subscribe button to join the Crow Coven, and also let us know down in the comments below if you do join. If you'd like to go the extra mile, feel free to share this video with a friend. You can also support our channel more directly by checking out our website over at crowmatesapothecary.com. And that's where we stock our homemade all-natural self-care products, as well as the only place where you can actually set up a private tarot reading with me. So if I resonate with you as a reader or you've ever been interested in having a private reading, remember to check that out. But just know that in whichever way you guys choose to support, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. And now let's get into the intro of the cards. So on the far left side, we have the Pastel Journey Tarot along with this Aura Quartz, and this is going to be representing group number 1. Then we have the Pink Pain Tarot and this Zebra Jasper representing group 2. Next is the OK Tarot and this Raw Crystal Quartz representing group 3. And lastly, we have the Kawaii Tarot along with this Black Tourmaline representing group 4. And feel free to take a moment to pause the video if you need time to meditate on the cards and make a decision. And then when you are all set, head on down to the description box below and then click on the timestamp that corresponds with the group that you chose, and you'll be instantly taken to your reading. All right, and now without further ado, let's head into your reading. Hello, group number 1, and welcome to your reading for today. So as we spoke about in the intro, this is going to be all about kind of whether or not the silence is going to be broken between you and another person. So I want you to really keep this person in mind while we are going through and pulling these cards. It will just help me in really being able to tap into that energy. But the first thing that I would like to do is I'd love to remind you all to hydrate while you are watching this video, and also to jot down any notes that you find during the course of it for you later to reference. And before we get into the card portion of it, in order to really pinpoint who this person is, because sometimes you can have a very distinct person in mind and then someone else is trying to come through and really give off these messages because maybe there's another situation that you don't realize that you're a part of that is a bit more pressing. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to roll this Astro dice 3 times to see if we can pick up on either their zodiac signs, their sun, moon, or rising, or yours, to make sure that you know that you've got the right group. So let's go ahead and roll these. The first one we're seeing come up is Taurus. Next is Gemini. And secondary Gemini as well. So it could be very, very strong Gemini energy. It could potentially be kind of an indicator that communication will happen already this early on in the reading. With Gemini being so present, it is a sign that really deals in communication and using their voice. So that could be just kind of a positive almost, that yes, communication will happen between you. And it could very well just be that there is a potential that it's an air sign that we're dealing with, or perhaps you're an air sign. So let's go ahead also, and I'm going to pull a few tiles. I don't know why, but I'm feeling 4 right now. I'm going to pull 4 different tiles to get initials as well. So let's grab these 4. we have L, S, R, and E coming out. So I'll keep those up there. And now let's go ahead and get into your reading. So you guys chose the Pastel Journey Tarot. Sorry, I forgot the name for just a moment. Shameful of me. And then the Aura Quartz as well. I'm going to show off that crystal once more. Aura Quartz can really be helpful when it comes to some form of healing journey. And really try to settle and calm yourself and put you in a serene state. I don't know why, but whenever I see Aura Quartz, seeing that like iridescent glow from it, I always get that serene sort of feeling that comes off of it. And it just pairs so beautifully with these cards as well. So let's go ahead and get into this today. So Spirit, can we please tap into group one's energy? Can we get into their person and find out a little bit more about their person, as well as any indication as to whether or not communication will come through. Seeing 5 of Wands immediately come out, so this does give off that feeling of having to dealing with a conflict, because it is very much this card's about like competition, so it's immediately giving animosity, like you guys did not leave on good terms kind of feeling. You can see that this figure here is throwing the roses ahead of them, so it does feel like almost a very direct attack. It's not like a it wasn't like a petty like trying to talk behind someone's back or trying to be sneaky about it. It's very much like you guys know that you aren't on good terms with one another is the immediate feeling that I'm getting from this card. Yeah, the Devil. This here is also Capricorn vibes too. But moreover than that is the Devil is someone who usually comes through when we're talking about being highly like addicted to this person. You are very bound to them, and it almost feels like a sort of addiction where you can't stop yourself from thinking about them even if they aren't necessarily good for you. So this is your very stereotypical, like, this is some form of toxic relationship that went worse, and then there was a period of time where you guys needed to separate and break away from one another. Again, this doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic connection. This could be a friendship that went very, very wrong. Perhaps you guys were extremely close and bonded with one another, and then some shade got thrown one way or the other, and it did cause the sort of rift between you guys. And it just still feels with that 5 of Wands that those hurt feelings are still there, and that there hasn't been much conflict that's been resolved. But you still feel really pulled toward this person. With the Devil appearing, it is very much someone who, it gives off like sweet talker. It gives off someone who knows the exact right things to say in order to bring you back into their inner circle kind of vibe. And this person may not at all be that like conniving, but it feels as if they could do this to you. And you can sometimes get to the point where you almost let this happen as well with this person. Can we get any more information on perhaps what this connection was? So for group 1, the connection between them and this person. 5 of Swords reversed. So this does talk about like it is a past resentment. It talks about like the connection that you guys have is due to something that happened in the past. And you could really still be holding on to all of this emotion and stress, but this card here is kind of indicating that you are open to changing your mindset. and possibly even that they are open to changing their mindset in the way of they could potentially be down for having a discussion about whatever this situation is. Um, Tying together with the question that I had asked Spirit, perhaps this was a person who, when they came into your life, they did bring about this sense of, like, this strong sense of change. It almost feels like it's giving like Manny Pixie, apparently Manic Pixie Dream Girl behavior. Like they suddenly became like your everything, and you were like obsessed with finding out everything about them, and they seemed like they were obsessed with figuring everything out about you. And like, of course, this doesn't have to be a female. This could be a guy who like maybe swooped in and like he just seemed so mysterious and so cool, and you were like, I really want to know more about him, and just went off and it went off the rails. But yeah, the feeling I'm getting is that whoever this person is, when they did come into your life, um, it really kind of threw you through a loop and made you, it like kind of brought this newness to your life that just felt like so good and so just intense. I'm just like feeling this really intense energy. And because of that, that's why you had such a like strong connection. Can we get any more messages about their person? I'd like two more. I'm gonna pull two at once because I'm feeling it. Okay. So we're seeing almost this like, let's get into it. The Seven of Cups does talk about that this could be some form of wishful thinking. So perhaps the connection was a form of wishful thinking, is that you were like, if I could get closer to this person, then maybe things would go a lot smoother in my life, or maybe my life would be complete. But it almost feels like seeing all these different things in here is that either you or they had like options though. And for some of you, I'm getting this feeling like it could have even potentially been like a situationship where you guys weren't even quite in a relationship, and then they found someone else through a different avenue because they had other options and they went with them, and that left you really hurt and like defeated kind of thing. And they were not shy when it came to telling you off and being like, well, it's not like we were together or anything either. Like it feels very um like blunt and like almost aggressive in a way that you weren't expecting. And why I'm seeing this too is like the Chariot being right after this card really gives me this feeling of movement, like it was a quick thing. So you either had a quick love affair, you had a really quick, like passionate, like romance journey, or you guys were kind of those friends who were like glued at the hip immediately, and it ran its course, and then it's fallen apart so quickly. However, the Chariot does offer this sense of control and power coming back to you, or this could be indicating that this is how this person is when it comes to how they assert themselves, is that they could be a very determined person who's kind of like the person that's like, I always have to win kind of feeling. So I feel like tied together with these, it almost gives off the impression that they were leading you down a path where they were having you have all these like fantasies about like how you guys' life could be or how the friendship could go, and then they just sort of like snatched that away from you. Because again, this card talks about that like wishful thinking and really delving into your imagination. So it really feels like they were kind of feeding you lines that were like all the right things to say in order to fast track you onto love. Because I'm getting this feeling too of like love bombing. Like it feels like they were able to tie you so closely to them simply because they knew all the right things to say, and they knew what to do to make you feel very wanted and very loved. And while it may have been a good feeling in the beginning, now that you're on the opposite side and there's that fighting, it's painful because you can't extract it from yourself and you can't get rid of those feelings that you had. However, again, the Chariot, even if this is more so talking about them having control and being victorious when it comes to they think they won this situation, this is kind of the vibes that I think you guys need to lean a bit more on, is look to the Chariot to have that strength get put into your willpower in being able to release this person as well. So now that we kind of get an idea of like who this person is and your past relationship with them, which for most of you, I'm seeing this as, obviously for some it's going to be friendship, it's going to be more platonic, but for most of you, I am seeing this as a very like sexual romantic relationship kind of thing where you guys were getting along together, at least you thought you were, and then something suddenly changed. So I'm going to now see if we can ask Spirit for some help and advice on this situation as to whether or not there's going to be any discussion. So whether they're going to break their silence or if you're going to be the one to open that door. The Hermit reverse. So this is talking about that there is a need to break out of a shell. There's a need to push past something. So this can be indicative of someone breaking past that and going into a mode where they want to actually have that discussion. That is the first and foremost message that I have, just my like initial message, because normally the Hermit reversed means instead of like the Hermit, you're willingly going and going on a journey of like soul searching and introspection. When it's reversed, it tends to mean that you're actually like withdrawing completely and feeling very isolated and very lonely. So this may be your feeling right now, but the immediate reaction that I got when I saw the card was I went the exact opposite from how the Hermit is, in the sense of, yes, breaking through and having that conversation. So it could be that you may be feeling this. It could be that maybe they are feeling this. Perhaps you're the one that's feeling isolated and withdrawn and just really like hurt and nervous about what the future holds. But they might be like, you know what, I still have some more things to say. And so this can be seen as a way for you to protect yourself. Obviously, with tarot, this is all just advice, and it's all things that you have control over. So even if you do not at all want to have contact with this person and you were like, I would rather I would rather not, you don't have to. So even if they do open up the avenue for discussion, you don't have to feed into that. So if you are more on the side of wanting to isolate and take care of yourself, then by all means do that. But for some of you, I am seeing this this discussion actually being a thing that could happen. Let's pull a few more cards. We see the Queen of Swords here, and this can talk about having a lot of, I'm trying to think, well, for one, being a quick thinker, feeling very independent and very strong when it comes to how you are imagining this conversation would go. This is having control over your like mental state. So you're very organized and you're thinking more about how everything made you feel in a way where instead of processing it through like your heart, you're processing through your mind. So you are getting a clearer idea as to what exactly happened and why you had to go through that situation with this person. So this does give me a feeling as if you guys did want to have a conversation that you would have the mental fortitude and the strength to be able to do it. You just have to do it on your own terms. So if there's somebody who they like to just text out all of their thoughts, and you're very much I need to sit down and face to face have a conversation, and they're trying to talk over text, you can simply be like, I'd love to have a discussion with you about this, but we need to do this face to face because I need to be able to see how you're reacting. Or like, if you know you get worked up when someone is on the phone with you, kind of thing, instead of texting or instead of face to face, you set those terms in order to start off on the right foot. So if they're trying to come at you in a way that you can't process as easily as others, then make sure that you put your foot down and let them know that you're going to, yes, communicate that with them, but only if you follow a certain set of guidelines. Essentially, it's just feeling very like you putting up certain boundaries so they can't access anything that would be harmful for you. Can we get kind of a definitive, like whether or not they will be contacting group 1? Four of Wands. So this one actually seems extremely pleasant compared to some of the other cards that we got. This does talk about a sense of like, I have to move all these cards. It does talk about a sense of like harmony and a coming together kind of thing. This is my like strong foundations card, and it normally ends up meaning that you are going to be able to celebrate something together. So my thoughts are on all of this that like they, even in here, it kind of looks like they're rejoicing together in a way where like maybe they haven't seen each other in a while and they're like, they can finally come back together and at least be cordial kind of thing. I'm getting this feeling that while this person may have their back up about a lot of things, it almost feels like an initial reaction kind of thing. And now that there has been time to settle a little bit more, there is a chance that you two can talk things through and figure out the root of the problem, because that is honestly the biggest thing when it comes to relationships or friendships, is we all have our own traumas and our own backgrounds and everything, that when some people like will lash out at you, it's obviously not the exact thing that they're feeling. There's something underneath that they can't show, that they can't bring to the surface kind of thing. And that can be really hard to parse, especially when you're obviously hurt by them kind of thing. So I feel like coming from, yes, you are keeping up your boundaries and you're also trying to protect yourself during this time. If you come at it with a sense of understanding and trying to listen to them instead of just like jumping down their throat and vice versa, there is a possibility that you two could get to the point where you could have a better and more solid foundation when it comes to whatever the situation is. I'm not going to say that I think you guys necessarily should come back into union if you guys were romantically involved, but the feeling is more like you guys could have a really strong friendship and support system with one another if you guys are both willing and open to do so. But I do want to make sure that you take care of yourselves during this time. I don't want you to get taken in again by whatever this devil issue is here, because that is something that can be quite the pitfall, is then if you get this go ahead and you're like, oh, everything's gonna be great, and then you just kind of fall back into that cycle, it's possible that this could happen again and you can just get led down that path and hurt more and more. I've been there, so I absolutely know what it's like. So just keep up your boundaries. Make sure that if they do contact you, that again, it's on your own terms. I don't think that they would be opposed to you reaching out to them. So for those of you who are more inclined to be the person to send the message, I think you could send it and you could have a really decent discussion now that time has passed. But don't like fall back away from your ideals and how you know that you should be treated as a person. If they start acting in a way that is going to hurt you again, cut off that contact again. We don't want you in a situation to where you are hurting because of this person. So thank you guys so much for getting to the end of your video. Overall, I feel like your situation can not maybe necessarily blow over, but it's one that I think you guys are going to be able to navigate. Just carry on that strength and that control over yourself, how we saw in the chariot, when you do go forward with this, if you're the one to make the first move. And hopefully you guys were able to extract some good messages and advice from this reading. So if you liked this video, remember to leave a like and also leave us a comment on the video as well if this resonated with you guys. It would be great to see a little ghost emoji in the comments to let me and others know that you got to the end of your group 1 reading. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello group 2, and welcome to your reading for today. So in today's video, we're going to be kind of trying to tap into this person that you may be having this this situationship with, this friendship with, that has fallen apart, and now you guys are currently in a situation where neither one of you reach out to the other person. Maybe you've drifted, maybe it was a very hard cutoff point from whatever this connection was, and we're going to kind of see if we can get messages for whether or not this person is going to open up this dialogue, or if you're going to break the silence, whoever is going to make the first move. So before we get into the reading, I just wanted to remind you all to stay hydrated during the video, and also to jot down any messages that you may hear during this to reference later. So firstly, in order to tap into your person, I am going to set aside the cards, and I'm going to roll this astro dice a few times to see if we can pinpoint either this person's sun, moon, or rising, or perhaps your zodiac sign, to make sure that you chose the right group. The thing is like, when I'm pulling the cards, I really want you to keep this person in mind, because it can really help to tap into that energy. But sometimes we click on these videos thinking about one person, and then suddenly you get hit midway through the reading being like, wait, no, this is about a completely different situation. So that's why I'm going with the zodiac dice, to kind of see if we can curb that first and foremost. So the first one we are seeing is Gemini. Next we have this kind of like got stoppered a little bit, but it was more clearly Taurus. And lastly, we have Capricorn. And you know what? This may be extremely similar to group 1. Group 1 also had Gemini and Taurus, and then later in the cards, Capricorn also appeared. So if you were feeling drawn toward watching group 1, you might find more messages there as well. I also took Gemini as a kind of like a indicator of communication, because Geminis are all about using that voice and communicating. So it's very possible that there could be some communication. Next, I'm going to pull a few tiles. Sorry if my camera just shook there. I'm going to pull a few tiles to see if we can get any initials. So I'm going to pull 4. There's 3 and 4. So the initials that we are seeing are C, S, I, and F. I'll set those there. So let's go ahead and now get into the tarot portion. So you guys chose the Pink Pain Tarot along with this Zebra Jasper. I'm going to show that off for you guys. So the Zebra Jasper can really help in kind of being able to look beyond illusions. So if you're someone who you're kind of in this weird standstill and you're not sure where this connection is going, or if there's anything else there, or you're wanting to dig into kind of the past, and now that you've got hindsight to figure out exactly what's going on, that can really help during this time that Zebra Jasper. The feeling that I'm also getting too, I'm going to show it off again, is when you look at this, there is kind of that smoky feeling with the white bleeding into the black. So for some of you, it is giving this feeling of like perhaps somebody ghosted you. It feels almost like they were with you and then just like up and out of nowhere, just like left kind of thing. So let's go ahead and shuffle these and see if we can get some really concrete messages for group 2 about their person. I first and foremost want to learn about who this person is so we can make sure that you are thinking about the right person as well. Ooh, the Emperor. So obviously very strong energy out the gate. We have somebody who is like a natural born leader, someone who may be a level of authority as well. Perhaps they're older than you. This could be pointing towards someone who is more masculine leaning. They don't necessarily have to be male, but it could be somebody that has more masculine qualities. The Emperor also brings about someone who is very structured in their life, and it almost feels like they know that they're like the boss, so they don't have to kind of like fight for anything when it comes to like power dynamics kind of thing. They're like, I am the dominant kind of personality. Let's keep going. We have the Page of Knives here, so the Page of Swords in the reverse position. So this could be someone who they were like basically all talk. Like they kind of wanted to give you the things that you thought that you wanted to hear. Like they just kept like talking a really big game, and then they weren't able to follow through on it for whatever reason. So this could be somebody who this is kind of like what they find is fun, or it could be somebody who they often told you that they would change for you. So in the way of like, say you guys would have arguments, they would just apologize and then be like, oh, you know, like I won't let that happen again, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. Like, oh, I'll be different next time kind of thing. And then it just continued down the same path is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And it may have been what ended up ultimately leading toward you guys' separation, is that you realized that you didn't want to have to go through with that anymore, and you finally sort of stood up for yourself. It could be a card that also just like talks about like quick decisions and quick just like haste in general. Specifically say decisions because like the swords are about like our mental state, and I always go for like when you're thinking, you're trying to think between two things. So this could be somebody who had a very active imagination and an active mind to the point where maybe they even talked fast as well, and they were quick to come into your life and sort of make a change and sort of bring about whatever situation this is for you guys. So if this was a friendship, a relationship, they were very quick to be like, yeah, we're besties, or yeah, I want to date you kind of thing. The next card I've pulled is the Ten of Swords. So this does talk about, this is very much like there was some sort of ultimate betrayal that happened. And how I was seeing this is that this is kind of talking about your person. So it does feel like they were the one who was in the wrong. Like they were the one who ended it completely. It talks about someone who could potentially have like backstabbed you. So they could have done something that really hurt you and really like broke up your mental state and your mental mindset. Because of how this is coming out, it does feel like there's some level of loss that you're suffering on your end because of this person. Let's get some more information about that, please, Spirit. I'd like to tap into that part of it. Can we talk a little bit more about like their connection and what's going on with this Ten of Swords? The Magician reversed. Ace of Swords. So many swords. So really, really giving off air vibes right now. So the Magician reversed can talk about someone who has manipulated a certain situation, because the Magician itself is about having like all the power, skill, resources that you could ever need, and being able to step into that power and use the things that are around you for the betterment of yourself and others. Whereas when it's reversed, it can talk about feeling like a lack of having those resources, but in particular, this time around, it's really giving me that manipulation vibe. So it feels like somebody who really was able to kind of twist up inside of your heart and like cause you to do things that you might not even have necessarily wanted to do. And they used that vulnerability inside of you, is the big feelings that I'm getting. And this Ace of Swords here gives me this feeling that they thought that they were like victorious, because this card in particular does talk about like having this like breakthrough moment and being able to be victorious and wielding raw power kind of thing. And to me, it feels more like this is like what they were in the situation. So it feels very much like they had the control over you, and they still have the control over your mental mindset. And they almost left this situation like knowing that they won. Like it really gives off this like petty like feeling of them being like, they know that they did you harm, and they almost aren't necessarily remorseful of it. And it could be like not everybody in the world is like is completely unfeeling to other people, but there are others who don't really care if they do hurt others. So take it as it resonates. This could be as simple as a friendship that just went wrong because they thought that they were top dog or something, and because they thought they had main character energy and everything, they didn't realize they were hurting the other people around them, and they thought that they were in the right at the end, whereas you're just sitting there being like, how can't they see how they hurt other people when they act the way they do? But it's not necessarily a like lost cause kind of person. So this can run the gambit. It could be somebody who is just a little misguided, who hasn't done a lot of like soul searching and actually spent the time to unpack why they act the way they act. Or it could be somebody who is very maliciously trying to use these manipulations against you. So just whichever way it resonates for one, but for two, just stay very guarded, because in either instance, you could still be very hurt by that kind of person. Because for people who haven't looked deeper into themselves and done a lot of introspection and soul searching and shadow work, they don't like to be told that they should do those things, because they think that they're a well-rounded person and that there's no possible way that they're wrong. And that can almost be more painful, because you're sitting there trying to be like, you aren't listening to me, and they just refuse to see it kind of thing. So let's see if now that we kind of clearly know who this person is, let's solidly ask about whether or not there's going to be some sort of discussion. And then again, this could be either they're going to open up the discussion or it could be you. So let's see are we going to, in the future, will group 2 have some sort of dialogue with this person so they can hash out everything? We do have the Queen of Cups, and this is someone who does have their, like, they're very intuitive, they're very, very calm and compassionate, and they are emotionally secure within themselves. So it's possible that if you are seeing and you resonate toward this Queen of Cups here, where you feel like you are emotionally secure and calmed and you're balanced and you want that sort of discussion, it almost feels like that would be indicating that you would be the one to start that conversation. I'm also getting the vibe that they will be in a slightly better mindset. Maybe something happened and they lost like a whole group of friends, and that is what has triggered that need to sort of do that soul searching and really figure things out within themselves. Can we get some more cards on this? I'd like to know. Can we get advice for how this discussion would go? Or if this discussion is happening, either or. There's some decision that needs to be made. So with this being the Two of Wands reversed, this is like, there is this fear though on one or both ends. There's this fear of the unknown, of what could happen if you were to put yourself in this situation, especially with me setting it underneath the Ten of Swords. You don't want to be backstabbed again. You don't want to be betrayed again. You don't want to go through all of that loss and be like defeated again, kind of thing. So this is kind of a feeling of, because you're unsure of what it could mean if you guys were to talk again, there is kind of this feeling of holding back. And again, you're fearing that unknown. There's those illusions again where you're fearing looking out into that void and not sure what you're going to be seeing back. And that's kind of what's holding you back. If you are more inclined to be the person who you want to stay in your own lane and you don't want to even consider the idea of chatting with them again, obviously know that you're completely in your power to never have a discussion with this person again. Like, if you're that hurt, you do not need to open yourself up to them. Even if they do make an attempt, you can just ignore it. I've done it. I've had people who have hurt me irreparably and they've been like, oh, let me just, and then I'm like, you're a joke if you think you can come back here like this, kind of thing. So it's one of those things where you are the one who does hold that power. So don't feel like you have to give yourself up to that. The other advice I would pull from this too is that this can be that there is some sort of lack of like planning on one end or another. So that this could be an impulse thing. So if you find yourself as someone prone to impulse, this might be a sudden message that you just send them and you're scared of what that could lead to. Or it could be the opposite end. It could be that they suddenly send you a message. It very much isn't something that feels like someone's done a lot of planning before they send this message. So just know that whatever way you want it to go, it is going to be something that you have that calmness and control over, and you don't have to fear that unknown, because at the very end of it all, it's just a person, like people can be scary, but like, it's at the end of it all, it's somebody that has a heart, and it is somebody that you once held dear. So just be careful about how much you end up giving to that person. This could also be advice for saying that you should plan something. So if you're somebody that likes to script out things, or if you like to write down like talking points, you may want to write down some like, I feel like you hurt me when you did this kind of talking points. So if they are like, well, I don't even understand why you're hurt, like you won't have to be fumbling because you'll have that as well. Can I get any more messages for group 2? 2 of Cups. The fact that we're seeing these twos here, so indicating like you and the other person, is like how I'm reading them. And with them being reversed, I am getting this feeling like there isn't going to be this connection. The more I've like sitting there thinking about it and reading it, is that I feel like I'm getting your fear of having a conversation coming out more than anything. And it does feel almost like you kind of don't want this to happen, so you're willing that to reality. And how I'm seeing that is in the 2 of Bottles here, or the 2 of Cups reversed. This does talk about that there's some sort of breakup that's happening. So there was an imbalance in a relationship, and the harmony that you guys maybe once had is no longer there, because this card, when it's upright, normally talks about like a beautiful, loving new partnership, new attraction and relationship with one another, whereas reversed, it does feel like it's kind of run the course of it all. So even if a conversation were to come of this, I don't think that you guys would get back to where you were. So whatever, if this was a friendship thing, if this was a romantic thing, it feels like that even if a conversation happens, you're simply not going to be able to see eye to eye to the point where you guys could form another like relationship, which I don't feel like you want to do. Maybe some tiny little part of you wants to, but for the most part, I'm feeling like it's moreover a conversation needed for closure than anything else. I don't think that you kind of were like, I've been there and I don't have to go back to that, because I don't need that validation and that sort of like pain and heartache from that person. But being able to see each other in the sense of despite these bottles being like complete opposites of one another, it does feel like you guys are mirroring something from each other, and there is a need to discuss that and why it affected you as deeply as it did. So if you think that closure would help you, and you think you have that emotional like stability to be able to process this and go through that, I say go for it. I'm kind of getting the feeling like they feel like they're in the right, so they might not come to you. I kind of feel like this is more of a you-led situation, and if anything, if you need it for closure, you should open up the dialogue and get what you can out of it, even if it is just simply to say your piece and then be like, all right, I'm out, kind of thing. Just to kind of get it off of your mind. That's the overall feeling that I'm getting for you guys. So thank you guys so much for getting to the end of your reading. I know it was a lot. I hope you guys have the strength and the power to be able to push through this, because it does feel like there was a lot of hurt here, and you guys do deserve that sort of closure from that person. So if you liked the video or it resonated with you, remember to leave a like, and also comment a little like crown emoji if this was your emperor person that we were discussing today, to let myself and others know that you got to the end of your group 2 reading. And I will see you guys in your next video. Hello group 3, and welcome to your reading for today. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing the connection that you've had with a person, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, situationship, whatever it is, discussing this deterioration from this relationship where you guys are at this level of no contact, and whether or not they are going to break their silence and they're going to open up a dialogue with you, or if you're going to be the one to step up to kind of open up that conversation. But before we get started in the video, I wanted to remind you guys to stay hydrated during this video, and also to jot down any messages that you hear during this that you really resonate with. And so to start us off, I'm going to actually set the tarot aside for a second, because in order to figure out who this person is, I'm going to roll this astro dice to see if we can pull their sun, moon, or rising, or I'm going to roll it to see if we could pick out yours to make sure that you guys got the correct group for yourselves. Sometimes when I watch these like no contact videos, I will go in clearly thinking about one person, and then a completely different person will like blindside me, and it'll be like, oh, actually no, this whole thing was always talking about this person. So this can really help if you are needing to make a decision between people, or just as a clear indicator. So let's go ahead and roll this a few times. The first one we are seeing is Aquarius. Next we are seeing is Leo. And lastly, we have Aries. So we've got some powerful energy there with those two fire signs. Fire can indicate that sort of like passion, that movement, that doing kind of nature as well. So it could be indicating and pushing you toward possibly having that conversation. I'm also going to pull out 4 tiles from my little bag here to see if we can get any initials. So this could be yours or theirs. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count. So the first one we have is H. Then we have A. Then we have, this makes a name, oh my god. Then we have N. And then we have K. So this could be literally someone named Hank, or it could be just any of those initials as well, either indicating yours or the person who we are going to be discussing today. So you guys chose the OK Tarot along with this raw crystal quartz. So let me go ahead and show that off again. This crystal quartz can really help to amplify certain things, certain outcomes and situations. So if you're going into this reading and you're like gung-ho to like have a discussion with this person, that can really help kind of boost almost your confidence that this can go well. And on the opposite end of things, if you are somebody who is like, no, I never want to talk to Hank again, like if you are like, absolutely not, this can kind of point you in the direction of like their mindset, and also how to steer away from that potential conversation. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to shuffle this. Spirit, can we get in contact with group 1's person? Group 1, or not group 1, good lord, group 3. Could you please, group 3, keep this person in mind as we are going into the shuffling, so we can really pull out their personality and get it into the cards. Sorry, I'm still waking up. So the first one we have coming out is the 8, yes, the 8 of Cups. That took me a minute. And that is very much showing me that there was some level of abandonment in whatever the situation was. Perhaps they abandoned you, or maybe you abandoned them. It could have been a situation where you had to leave this friendship or this relationship because of how the vibes were not there for the pair of you, and you needed to withdraw from them as well. So it does give off this feeling of someone is disappointed. So this could either be you or them. Someone feels very disappointed that this connection is no longer there, and it feels like there is a need for them or you to kind of escape from it, maybe delving into things that are not in reality, so you can kind of cope with what has happened. Let's get some more messages. So about group three's person, please. I want to get some really decisive cards out for them. We have the Sun. This could be someone who was very bright and positive. This could be you as well. This could be that they see you as someone who's very fun and successful. But it is giving off this feeling almost like, because I'm trying to pull cards about them, is that it feels like this is a person who they could be of two minds, where they show themselves as a very positive and bright and cheerful person, but maybe on the inside they have these deep insecurities that can come out and can cause problems, such as that withdrawing from people because maybe they are afraid of being hurt, or even potentially abandoning people as well because of their fear of being hurt. Ooh, yeah, the Magician reverse does talk about some sort of like manipulation going on. So it could have been that maybe this person uses, I'm getting this weird vibe of like they've used like emotions and used that emotional insecurity within someone in order to kind of cause this hurt. And so even if there's somebody who's like, on the outside, they're like, I'm a bright, cheerful person. Everyone thinks I'm happy 24/7 kind of thing. It's like when you get under the surface, you realize that there are certain things that they do and say that don't match up with that persona that they almost put out. And it does give me the feeling like you got to see through to this for whatever reason, and that's why you needed to really pull away from them. It could be too that like they have the ability to completely control their emotions and completely control the situation where they don't have to rely on manipulation tactics, but for some reason that's kind of the way they went. It's giving like martyr. Like if they shed enough tears in front of people, they're gonna win people over. I don't know, that seems like really mean to say, but like it kind of is like those crocodile tears is the feeling that I'm getting. Let's keep going. Another 8. This one's in reverse and it's wands. So there is some sort of feeling like someone is very frustrated. Perhaps both of you are very frustrated in this connection. And there's this like need to hold off. Someone is like feeling blocked. Like someone feels like they almost can't be the one to open up. And I'm really feeling this about them, because it does feel like a delay of some sorts. Like they wish they could almost just go back to you believing that this is what they are. But because you've seen other sides to them, they're like upset that they can't, not even necessarily manipulate you in a way that because that sounds really, really bad, but like they can't make you perceive them in a way that they want to be perceived. And because of that, they're having a really hard time being able to start a conversation with you. And what's even weirder is this doesn't feel completely not like no contact. This doesn't feel like a situation where you guys like don't have each other's number or like you're blocked or anything. This feels kind of like I'm right now gut reaction getting that this was a friend's situation more so than a lover's, and there was some sort of like falling out or something that happened that is really causing a it's not even a rift, it's just kind of weird. Like you guys are in a weird awkward limbo is what it feels like. I'm so interested. This is so strange and different from the other two groups that I did, group 3. Another 8. So many 8s. So this is the 8 of Swords. So they feel almost like they can't reach out to you. So they feel very isolated from you. They feel very like whatever it is that they're going to say, it's not going to be enough to have you want to be their friend again. That's like the initial overall feeling I'm getting. And that's very strange because it feels like they're putting themselves there in that. Whereas maybe you're sitting there being like, if you would only just talk to me like a normal person, like I would absolutely actually talk to you. And because they just feel like whatever passed between you guys is just so awkward that they're almost kind of like done with it. But they do like, I'm getting this feeling like they miss you, but they don't know how to just approach it. And it's as simple as that. It just feels very like, it doesn't feel like this is the end all be all of like, no, you're completely cut off and shut away from them for good kind of thing. It feels like there could be a, let's pull. Sorry, I'm like, this is so different from the first two. The vibes feel completely different. Can we find out if group three's person wants to remain friends or wants this, whatever this connection is? Do they want this? Ah, the Empress, yes. Yeah, I feel like the Empress is a very like, obviously like motherly figure, someone who revels in the beauty of life, the beauty perhaps even in a friendship and in nature themselves, and also is one to be very abundant in the sense of their time and energy. They like to give, they like to be able to provide kind of thing. So it does feel like, especially with it being a heart, it really feels kind of like this was just an instance of misunderstanding, or perhaps this person was in a bad space. Perhaps they were dealing with a lot of escapism and dealing with a lot of negative things that you weren't understanding from their point of view, like why, like what was going on kind of thing. But I do get this feeling almost like this person does want to talk with you. So let's see here. Let's find out. Okay, so is group three's person going to start the conversation? That's what I want to know. Five of Cups. This is like such a like sad card because this really talks about like loss and regrets, like really having deep rooted regrets and feeling like disappointment and everything. So it feels like they're in a place to where they can't even possibly be the one to start the conversation because they just have such a low self-esteem right now that the idea of them opening something up, they're like, of course group three isn't going to talk to me. Like, remember when I was talking about like it feels kind of like martyry kind of thing? It feels like somebody who's like, oh, woe is me, like almost like victim-y kind of like person, which I say that I don't mean to say it in such a like rude way, but like it does feel like someone who's kind of going through a sense of like wallowing instead of like buckling down and actually like taking responsibility for their actions and apologizing. But at the same time, you know, you don't know what they're going through. It could very much be that they're just like mentally not able to be capable of like having that discussion in a way where they're the ones that starting it. So what about group three? Is group three going to be the one then? I want to know. Will group three start this conversation? Another 8. We got all of the 8s out on this table. So that's so wild to me. If 8 is like your favorite number, sound off in the comments because it wants to appear. So with the 8 of Pentacles, this does still talk about, it almost feels like you were barely thinking about it. it kind of is giving me this feeling of like you went to this video to watch about someone else and then this person came through, but they came through so strongly and you're kind of like taken aback because you were like, I wasn't even like thinking about the situation because I'm too busy focused on my own stuff that I didn't even like think about what it is that they could be going through and like what it is that was going between us, kind of thing. This card can also indicate that maybe you are someone who like leans heavily on like perfectionism. So while you may be someone who would start a conversation, you're wanting to pick your words very carefully, and you're not, you want to be able to say everything all in one go to help smooth everything over, so you're not having to keep like revisiting this topic, kind of thing. So it's giving this feeling of like you could potentially be holding back, and maybe you've been holding back from opening up the dialogue because you're like, I just want to make sure that I'm saying all the right things. I want to reassure them. I do want to continue this sort of friendship, but I just don't know what I can do to really calm them down and have them understand that I am their friend and that I do want them in my life. I did not do this for the other two groups, but I'm going to pull two more cards because I am so confused. I really want to know like the mindset and whether or not you guys are going to have this discussion. So advice for if group 3 does want to have this discussion. Can we do that? Advice and outcome. So advice for group 3. 7 of Swords reversed. And then the outcome, please, of their conversation. 5 of Wands reversed. Okay. So with the 7 of Swords reversed, this does talk about you eventually breaking free from something. There is some sort of like mental block that you have right now that you are needing to get over before you make this decision. So while there is that mental block in place, it does talk about breaking free. It does talk about being able to perceive the situation in a different light. And while it may be hard right now to know exactly what you want to say, it does feel like you could get there eventually. And then with the 5 of Wands reverse, this right now, it's kind of like calling you out a little bit. It does say that there is conflict avoidance, and for some of you I feel like it's because you're avoiding the conflict, and for others it feels like this is the outcome where if you approach this person and you're willing to be like, yes, like we're friends again and everything, the conflict will be avoided in the sense of like they could potentially just brush it under the rug and be like, no, everything's fine, and they don't even really want to talk about it and they just want to keep going in their like happy positive way. Or it could be that you guys avoid having a big like blow up fight kind of thing. So this, I'm still taking this as very positive, that I think that instead of focusing on the past hurt, you guys are going to be focused more on the new goals that you want to set in place for each other. So like if it is a friendship thing, you guys are focused on actually repairing that friendship. So that is all of what I had for you guys today. That was such a intense reading. It feels very pointed, very, very pointed at a guy named Hank. No, it just feels very much like, you know who this person is, and I don't think there was like tons of bad blood left over. I think this is just a situation where there was a lot of stresses going on at the exact same time, and it was kind of the culmination of like the perfect storm of just a disaster. And you both fell away, but I do feel like there is a way that you guys can mend this, especially if it's something that you're interested in doing. So again, whatever this crystal is here to help amplify, lean into that and really go forth with that. And also, if I called you out, please let me know. I would love to know if this sounds familiar to your life and your situation. person, and if you are going to be taking any steps towards repairing a certain relationship. So if you liked this video or resonated with you, remember to leave a like and also comment a sun emoji to indicate that person, to let me and others know that you got to the end of your reading group 3. And of course, thank you guys so much for getting to the end of your reading, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hello, group number 4, and welcome to your reading for today. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a certain situationship, relationship, or friendship that has potentially gone sour to the point where you guys are currently no contact with one another, and whether or not they're going to be the one to break the silence, or if you're going to be the person who decides to open up that dialogue. But before we get into your reading, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone to stay hydrated during this video, and also to jot down any messages that come up that you may deeply resonate with so you guys can reference it for later. So I'm going to set the tarot aside for now, because the first thing that I would like to do is I would like to see if we can pull out this person's zodiac signs, whether it's their sun, moon, or rising, or yours, to kind of help indicate that you guys chose the right group for yourselves. Because I have done these readings before where I've watched them and I'm like, you know what, I'm thinking very clearly about this person as I click the video, and then I get midway through the reading and I just get smacked upside the head with a completely different person. So it's one of those things where I kind of wanted to lead off with it just so you can get a better understanding of who may be thinking about you. So the first one we are seeing here is Scorpio. Whoops. Next we have Leo. And lastly, we have Cancer. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And then I'm also going to pull 4 tiles to see if we can get initials. So either their initials or yours. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as follows, we have A, then we have H, we have L, and lastly, we have M. So I'll set those there. Now we will get into the tarot portion. So you guys chose the Kauai Tarot deck along with this black tourmaline. So I'm going to go ahead and show this off. The black tourmaline can really help when you need to filter out negative energy. So whether this is a person or just how you feel about certain situations, the black tourmaline can act as that filter and can really purify certain situations. So if you are looking for a conversation, it can really help you when you are going up against someone who may be a little bit more brash with their words, or perhaps you are somebody that you tend to not have a filter, so you need a filter when it comes to having a discussion so you can actually get across your points more clearly and concisely. Let's not drop all the cards. So let's go ahead and get into this for group 4. Can we please get some indication as to who this person is for them? Really want, there's so many. So I'm gonna take at least the strength reversed one because it did fly out. This can talk about someone who is perhaps a little bit more on the self-doubting side. They might not be someone who feels like they have a lot of self-discipline either. It could be somebody who sees themselves as weak when it comes to certain things or situations. But I also am getting this very distinct feeling of the fact that the card like flew out from me shuffling kind of thing. It feels like they are not necessarily, they feel like kind of brash, you know, like the fact that the card like jumped out, it feels almost like somebody that you don't like forget about kind of thing, because they just stick in your mind because of how like magnetic they are. Can we get some indications for group 4's person? I'm gonna pull more for you than I had for the other groups too, because that one did fly out. So let's go ahead and do this. Ooh, the 10 of Swords reversed. So This person is currently going through a point of really rejuvenating themselves. They're really trying to recover from what happened with the pair of you. I feel like there was some sort of inevitable ending that you guys had to go to. It wasn't like it was almost very obvious that it just wasn't going to work out. And because of this, maybe that's why they see themselves as someone who doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, or they feel like weak from the situation, is because they felt like they didn't have a lot of control in what happened. And it does feel like they're currently trying to go through this sort of recovery phase. They could be also potentially afraid of the conversation because they're afraid of what you might say, and because of that, they could be really holding themselves back. Not saying that you're the problem, but maybe they're a bit more sensitive of a soul, and it's kind of something that is causing them fear. Let's get some more cards for this person. So yeah, there's somebody who really believes in like wishful thinking. They kind of like delve into their fantasies a lot and really live in that realm of imagination where they think that like everything is just going to be peachy keen. It kind of feels like there's a certain way that the world operates around them that they kind of ignore. And maybe that's why this needed to end, was that they were envisioning a completely different situation in life than what you were. And because of this, they were really lost in that illusion, and it ended up not working out because it wasn't the reality of the situation. Very interesting. Yeah, it just simply wasn't working, I feel like, with you guys. There's this lack of teamwork with the pair of you, to where it just feels almost as if you guys were going down two completely different paths. It almost feels like this could have been a mutual thing too, is that that's why they knew it was an inevitable end, is because like you guys were living like very, very different lives. And because of this, that's what really brought it up. And because of that, it's just like you guys weren't able to work together, and you weren't able to see the same vision, kind of thing. This could also indicate that this is where they're at right now, though. It could be that they're like, that lack of teamwork is like they're not willing to have a discussion because they're still not seeing eye to eye. It could be that they're kind of going through that point of like wallowing still, to where they'd rather live in that fantasy and escape to that world instead of facing that reality as well. If that sounds familiar or resonates with you, it's very possible that that is what they're still kind of going through. Can we get some more cards about Group 4's person? I'm very interested. Four of Wands. And Moon reversed. So this is where we're seeing Cancer again as well. And I was getting like mega Cancer vibes, obviously, other than the dice, because it does feel very emotionally charged. This is so strange. So in the Four of Wands, this is my like building a strong foundation. Like, this is the happy home and marriage card. This is like coming together in harmony kind of card. But it's weird because it's being so paired with this card here, in the fact that like they're struggling to work together, but they want this kind of thing. They want this out of you. They wish everything could be just like sunshine and roses and like all of that, and like be able to reach this point. But the Moon reverse does talk about kind of needing to release this fear that they have. So maybe they are currently going through that, is that they're in that rest, recovery, regeneration mode. They realized that this had to come to an end because of a certain reason. And they're now kind of getting to that point where they're trying to face the unknown, and they're trying to really recognize the faults of what happened and how this situation went. Um, However, the moon reverse can also talk about like unhappiness and confusion. So they may be confused as to why it ended. Like maybe you guys never had that proper like end conversation of like why the friendship didn't work or why the relationship didn't work, and you guys have to like put a stopper on it kind of thing. It's very possible that they're not sure like what it is that they did, and they're still kind of wanting to live in that delusion and that fantasy of everything being fine. For some of you, this is so funny. The first two groups very much felt like no contact, like you guys like have not talked for a long time. And then group 3 felt kind of like you guys have talked, you maybe even saw each other IRL like once kind of recently, and but you're just not talking day to day. And yours kind of reflects that a little bit more. For some of you, this feels like a hurt friendship where you guys even still run in the same like circles of people, but like you guys aren't making an effort to talk. So even if it is just like a cordial like, hey, hi, how you doing kind of thing, you're not like getting in deep like you used to. And there is that feeling of pain there from not having that that closeness and that bond that you guys used to share. But there was something obviously that pulled you guys apart from one another. So I'm curious. I'm going to dig into you, group 4. I want to know, does group 4 want this bond again? This card just like flew out. So this is the 9 of Swords reversed, and that is like a really, really dramatic card to just be like coming out. It feels like this could be like literally a severe depression card or feeling tormented about a situation. Maybe there is a feeling of, because you know you left that person confused, is that maybe that's what's causing that pain there, is that you're like feeling really bad about the situation. There is a sense of hopelessness as well, almost like you're not able to reach out to them because like they're not going to hear it. Does that make sense? Like it almost feels like, well, what's the point of me trying to fix this, even though they're saying they want this kind of thing? Like, what's the point of me fixing this if it's just going to be the same thing over again? Does that make sense? Interesting. Was this a friendship that could have potentially been a lover's situation? That's why it's so like hurt. King of Swords reversed. So we're seeing that there was like some, yeah, it just feels like more manipulations kind of thing, where it feels like you could recognize what it is that they were doing, and it was kind of like seeing the red flags, whereas like sometimes you look at people and you just can't see them, but you were seeing these red flags, and before it got too far, you really like cut it out and stopped it kind of thing. Does group 4's person want to talk? Yeah. So the Queen of Cups here shows me this like feeling of like wanting to be emotionally secure and wanting to have this having this calmness and compassion towards one another. But like it's almost giving me this feeling like you can like see through it. Maybe they present themselves as like this weak-willed, like self-conscious kind of person, and maybe they actually are that deep down inside, but maybe you see it as kind of a ruse, and that's why you're so nervous to actually like start a conversation or have one with this person, is because there's a lot weighing on your mind. Like with these swords here, we're seeing that there's this there's something that you just can't get over, and that is really stuck in your brain, where you just can't work past it. It's almost like the feeling of someone who's like presents themselves as like really like gentle and innocent and like the perfect person, and like they would never do anything wrong, but then they do the most heinous action, and like everybody else around them believes them, and it's like, no, they're like the softest uwu baby, and you're sitting there like, no, I've seen them, I know what they can do, and you can't really do anything about it, kind of thing. Who knows, maybe even this Four of Wands here could potentially be a like manipulation tactic. Like they are like, they would love to get you back on their side to be able to control you again. You know what I mean? Like they would love to be able to have everyone in their friend circle like be like, see, look, we made up. So they said that they're sorry, and it was all about group 4. They're the one that did it. You know what I mean? Like it's so vindictive, but like some people are like that, you know? Like, it's possible. Okay, so I want to know, is group 4's person going to reach out? I'm so scared. Will they reach out to group 4? Whew, Page of Pentacles. This talks about manifestation. This does talk about some sort of opportunity. Usually this is like a job card, but the way I'm seeing this is like there is some opportunity there for this. Almost like you come into their like line of thinking again, and they're like, you know what? I could probably reach out to them. For some of you, this is like a more recent friendship breakup thing. For others, I feel like this is a very like deep, long-lasting, like toxic relationship that you left a long time ago, and you're still like hurt over, and they're still like weird about, but they've been doing a little bit of soul searching, and possibly they want to reach out to you, but you're afraid of falling back into that same sort of like manipulation and trappings kind of thing. So this is like showing a manifestation of something. When we manifest something, it means that we do something. So this is kind of indicating to me that this person might reach out to you. If that is like not at all something that you want, you obviously do not have to respond to them. Like if they do or say something and you're like, you read the message, you simply don't have to respond. You don't have to give them any energy. So don't feel like you have to cross any of your values in order to keep yourself protected during this time. Again, we're seeing this like fear of like torment kind of thing coming up. So you don't have to actually give them any sort of energy, especially if it's something that would hurt you more than help you kind of thing. Again, kind of like filtering out that negative energy, filtering out all of that that negative toxic person kind of thing. Keep that in mind, that you are in control of what goes in and out of your life. And so if you need to be that filter to stop yourself from talking to that person, you absolutely can do that. What about, I'm peeking at the time. I want to pull an advice card for you guys because this is very interesting and strange, and you guys like have a crazy amount of cards here, but I want to kind of know advice and then outcome of discussing. So what's some advice that we can give for group 4 about their person? King of Cups reversed. So again, this talks about emotional manipulation and the possibility that there can be a lot of like moodiness, and it could be very volatile kind of thing. So it can be trying to tell you that you have to make sure that you have your emotions in balance and you're in control of them before you talk to this person, or else your emotions will be used against you. Or even that you need to be more gracious when it comes to actually having a discussion if they're being cordial. Or for most of you, I'm reading this very literally from its reversed point, where you would be getting emotionally manipulated and you would be getting used if you have this conversation. This is probably the most negative of the groups that I've had, where a discussion would actually lead to something not quite what you want. So just make sure you keep yourself protected, and you don't have to do anything that that you wouldn't want to do. Can we get an outcome card of their discussion? So I pulled the Two of Cups in the reverse position. And for me, the Two of Cups normally means like a unified love, like new partnership, new like attractions or relationships kind of thing. But this does feel very much like it isn't, obviously it isn't new, but also with it being reversed, it feels like there is some sort of imbalance, and there's going to be a lack of harmony that is going on. You guys aren't going to see like on the same page or see eye to eye kind of thing. And it can also be a breakup card, so it's very possible that this would just further cause issues for the pair of you instead of actually being helpful. So just know that whatever you choose to do, try to keep yourself as emotionally calm and in control of the situation as possible, and just go to it. Like if you open the dialogue, or if this person does, it kind of feels like they're going to, just keep in mind that you don't have to give them any energy, and you don't have to expect a positive outcome, because it's likely not going to happen, because I feel like they just like to play victim kind of thing. So good on them if they're trying to change themselves and actually like do some inner work and everything, but I don't think that they're on your level. That's the major vibe that I'm getting, is that this person is leagues below your level of emotional intelligence and shadow work, soul searching, all that sort of thing, that they're never going to actually see eye to eye with you. And you have to keep that in mind, but like before you get into a conversation, because if you kind of know the outcome, you won't be hurt by it. It's great to want to be open and to not have preconceived notions as to like where something is going to go, because you could potentially influence how the outcome gets brought to you. Because again, tarot is just all advice and everything. Like this, everything can change because you have free will. But just know though that I feel like this person's intentions are not quite up to par, and they're not quite in order to make you feel good. It would be more like they're trying to have a conversation with you because they want to clear their name. They want to be like, see, look how like chill I am with my ex, and see how like good terms we're on kind of thing. Don't you all believe me? Instead of like actually coming at it from a point of wanting to be friends or wanting to understand one another. So just be extremely careful, group 4. I want to make sure that you're taking care of yourselves. If you liked this video or it resonated with you, remember to leave a like, and also leave a moon, like a crescent moon emoji, down in the comment box below to let myself and others know that you did reach this point in your video. And obviously, thank you guys so much for getting to the end of your reading. There was a lot of information here, so hopefully you guys were able to pull some messages from this, and it'll be able to help you in the future if any certain discussions need to be had. So again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.